Okay. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I think I got dropped, and now we are working to get Dr. Bazian back. Welcome back to everybody who's stuck with us. And we're just going to jump right into where we ended. Sheikha was telling us about sort of the difficulties about getting nuanced stories and the importance of, essentially a lot of people from this region, the Middle East, North Africa, we're going to be using it for the next few minutes, even though we agree that it's a problematic term, that people from this region often, when they're creating media, they're creating content, they not only do they need to create the content, but they actually have to, unpack the negativity that's already out there, right? There's another narrative out there about Muslims, about women, Arab women, Arabs, North Africans. And so one of the big questions that we got from our viewers is, and I'm going to throw this to you, Alison, just because you are yourself coming at it from, somebody who's from an indigenous background within the national sphere in Libya, and also somebody who's using social media to get your voice across. So essentially what she asked, Janelle Shaloun, who's a program director of Border Crossers, she wants to know who gets to be the voice of movements in the mainstream media. So who, and this is something that Dr. Bazian alluded to in terms of in the United States, there was one or two voices out there who were interpreting the Arab uprisings and the protests there. So, if you can share with us your thoughts about who gets to be the voice of the movements in the mainstream media, and then maybe you can also tell us why it is that you and your group took to Facebook and took to social media to get your message across.
Thank you. I think the mindset, firstly, the mindset that we all need to have is that we can't expect others to do the job for us. If we want our voices heard, we can't scream, towards Western media and tell them, why don't you show this particular narrative? It's we need to take that initiative, because if somebody is going to work against our movement, which you will always have that, they're gonna actively they're not going to show you the narrative that you desire. Who gets the right? Well, it comes down to who controls the media stations. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It comes down to, who has the funding to control the media stations, and that's why us regular people need to utilize any other means that we can to overcome the ones who do have the best funding and the most sources to portray a certain narrative. Just like most other or every other youth in the MENA region has done in the past few years, we've taken to Facebook and Twitter, who are the most popular platforms, to get our voices heard. It's surprising how well you can get your voice heard. There's my own page. I have all sorts of reporters, people who write for the biggest newspapers, for the biggest TV stations, and it's just a way to influence them, because they do listen. There's always somebody there that you can contact, and just the take-home message is, don't expect others to do the job for you. Anybody can take the initiative and be that source of influence.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this is especially critical for people who are living in countries where there is not, freedom of the press, and that they're able to take their own stories and to create their own media. I don't know, Sheikha, did you want to respond to this as a journalist and as well? This question of, essentially taking charge of your own story. You have to press unmute. Just press the button again so that we can hear you.
So can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
So I totally agree with what Asim just said. Actually, yeah, especially like in the Arab world, and as we just talked like earlier, there is like not much of freedom of expression. So the social media is the only like way to express your stories and to tell like what you want the untold stories. And also not only that, but to reach like people, because a lot of people just have lost like faith in like the media. So in order like to get like people their faith back, is you have to reach them through like the tools that they are like using. And as you like know, for example, I can talk about the Gulf region. Like we know, like we don't have freedom of expression, but now we have like we are like one of the most like people who use like technology, and I'm talking like iPhones, like PCs and stuff like that. So if everyone's like having an iPhone, or he has like one of those like PC, and he can like reach other people and he's connected with those people, then I can reach those people through like those devices. And I have to use it through like the tools, which is like social media, and I have to tell them the story. Everyone actually sit up with hearing like, for example, oh, all about like honestly like government things, oh, everything is so great in our country, we don't have problems. No, actually we do have problems, but the media doesn't want to show it because it's like control. But if like one of like those people who are like suffering go and tell me that his story or her story, then I'm like really connected, because I feel like this pain as well. I feel like the same like suppressed. I feel like whatever like the story is, because I'm like living in the same within the same society. And no one, the good thing is no one can really control like those social media. So unless if you're like shutting down those like applications, like if you're like on Twitter or Facebook, there's no other way that they can stop it. And it's not like only social like Facebook, Twitter. There's like YouTube. There's like news, like other like things, like for example Viber. There's WhatsApp, like those like applications. And it's like a market that's growing fast. So and it's always have like those technology. And I feel like in a way, the people who are like using it kind of like younger generation, and they know like those technology very well. It's like their language. They speak the language of theirs. And the government, it's so hard for the government to suppress them or control them, because somehow like they don't even get into like each and every details of those like tools. And yeah, it's been like such we are like honestly blessed to be living in such an era like where we see this like technology, and where it speak about our story. And the other good thing is you can't really control who can go there and talk. Like anyone who wanted his voice to be heard, just go there and write. For example, if you're talking to Twitter, just have a hashtag with your story, and you can get like people like getting together and sharing their own experience, and sharing your story as well. And actually through like those Twitter, the government here is hearing like what they say, and sometimes like through Twitter and social media they change some of the rules. And I can see that in like in the Gulf region. I can see it like in Egypt, and I see it in other like Arab countries. So we are like really grateful for social media in a way. And yeah, so hopefully they wouldn't really shut it down, and we don't really know what we're gonna do after that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's really important thing to keep in mind that in the countries where there were a lot of where the protests were happening, oftentimes this was one of the first things that the government would do, is try to shut down Twitter or shut down social media. So I think even the powers that be are very aware of how important the fact that people can connect with each other through other telecommunications technologies is it's dangerous to a lot of the powers that be. We have just about 5 minutes, and what I would like to hear from both of you is, Aslam, I don't know whether you've lived in the United States ever or visited the United States, but you do live in Sweden, European society, and Sheikha, you live here as well in the United States, and you go back and forth. But we're currently in the middle of Arab American History Month. And this is why actually MuslimARC wanted to bring together this conversation to really unpack, okay, what does Arab mean? What does Arab American mean? What does the Middle East, North Africa mean? And as what we've been learning in the last hour is that actually these are really heavy terms, and these are sometimes very imprecise terms. But as you know, MuslimARC, what we try to do is work within Muslim communities to challenge racism, to challenge stereotypes, and to educate other Muslims here in the United States about the wonderful diversity of the Muslim community. So coming, Sheikha, as you are from, being Saudi American, and Asim of being Amazigh, Libyan, Swedish, what would you tell Americans of Arab backgrounds, in this particular month? What are some of the pointers, perhaps, that you would give us in terms of how we would talk about our heritage to people, whether it's across the ocean or whether it's to other Americans? And why don't I start with Asim?
Yeah, I can start. I think one interesting concept was actually brought up several hundred years ago by Ibn Khaldun, who I mentioned earlier, and he defined Arabs as Arabs by ethnicity and Arabs by language, right? So you have, for example, in Libya especially, there's been a huge amount of Arabized Amazigh. A huge portion of Libyans and even throughout North Africa are Arabized Amazigh. They're ethnically Amazigh, but Arab by language. Arabs themselves are very diverse, as I mentioned. Throughout even the past 50 years, they've increased in number because of the increase in language use, right? It's not a homogeneous group. It's important to know that they derive from different cultures as well. An Arab in Morocco who speaks Darija, it's a dialect of Arabic. It's so different from an Arabic from Yemen who speaks a completely different dialect. So, I mean, it's hard to tell you what exactly Americans are interested in, but that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Sheikha, what are some of your thoughts on this question?
I would say, first of all, like, each and every Arab American should be like very proud of his heritage and his identity, because when you think, what is America? America is a multi-pot of different culture, different like background, and this is what makes like America special, because everyone should share like his heritage with everyone else, and that's what makes us stronger. And that's what we should all do. Like, and I believe like everyone wanted to hear like all the good things about like our culture. So I find like some people are like, oh, let's just be so Americanized. Okay, we can't be Americanized, but that doesn't mean that we lose our identity. You can be American and you can be Arab American. So, and you can actually, other American would really appreciate having you and sharing with you like your heritage. You can share, and the sharing I would mean like anything you can think about, like music, food, pictures, anything, because that's what it's all about. And it's what makes like human like interested in each other, because we always like into like storytelling and different things, like an amazing thing from like the other world and other like places. So that's what we should do, especially like in this month. I would like encourage like each and every person to share like his story, and I believe like each and everyone has like a unique background, a unique story, a unique something that we need to hear, and we are like so like earning to hear it. We wanted to hear like that thing. So that's what I would say. So be unique and tell us like about your uniqueness.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm going to end with the story that I often like to tell myself. In the United States, the term Arab is such a bizarre term. Again, it's very imprecise, and for a lot of historical reasons, which we will get into, actually, MuslimARC will be sharing some of this information in the coming weeks. Arab Americans are actually designated legally as white, which is very funny and very problematic. As just our panel, you could just look at us and sort of say, okay, this is quite problematic to define Arab Americans as being white. And so, in fact, when I was little and we were signing up for school here in outside of Chicago in a school that was primarily white, we were asked to actually fill out a race card, which is very interesting. And my father didn't want to do it. He said, "Why? This is silly. I'm from a country." Oh, I think we ended. I'll just finish telling you all the story. That we are from a country that has just left the British, and we don't want to. We in fact we don't want to put down our race. And so there was a little bit of a back and forth, and finally our principal, who was white, asked my father, so what language do you speak at home? He said, oh, well, we speak Arabic. And our principal, Mr. Klein, said, oh, well then, okay, you have to put down white for your girls because Arabs are white. And my father looked at him with his big afro and started laughing. He said, we're from Africa. We are black. You know what? If this is the case, we're going to put down black. But we're Arab, at the same time. So these are the kind of nuances that I'm really excited that we're being able to unpack now with this conversation, with our conversations that we're having online, through Twitter and through our Facebooks. And I really want to thank you both, Sheikha Adosari and Asim Mujaddam, as well as Dr. Hatem Bazian, who had to run off to his class a few minutes ago, for all of your insight, your wonderful conversation, and your advice as well. So thank you so much, and thank you for staying up, Asim, and thank you for joining us, Sheikha.
Thank you very much, Hind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Actually, we really appreciate this opportunity, and we enjoy each and every minute of this conversation.
Thank you for dealing with the technical difficulty as well. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what's gonna happen. If we want to go back to that link and we want to hear this, or we want to watch this, amazing discussion. How can we do that?
That's a great question. The links should be up, and I think my colleague will be able to pull out the link right now, and we'll probably just share them right now through our Twitter feed and our Facebook page. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll email you both as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Assalamu alaikum.